Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, just did it again. And by it, I mean defied expectations and found a way, despite a tiny 3-seat majority, to pass a massive piece of President Trump's agenda. So this happened very early in the morning on Thursday. This is the One Big Beautiful Bill. By the way, that is actually the official title of the bill. Basically what this does is it funds all of Donald Trump's priorities: taxes, immigration, national security, etc. This is, by my count, the fourth vote this year. So fourth vote in a little over, well, about 5 months, that Mike Johnson has figured out a way to pass despite having an absolutely tiny majority. So let's start. He gets elected as Speaker in January, which I was not sure would happen, and it happens on the first ballot. Good on him. In March, he finds a way to pass something to fund the government, to keep a government shutdown from happening. He puts the pressure on Senate Democrats to go along. They eventually do. The government stays open, etc. Then in April, he passes a framework for this budget. Now, in April, what they passed was basically like the general idea of the One Big Beautiful Bill without any numbers attached to it, which was always going to be a little bit easier because there were no numbers attached to it, but still, it was contentious. And then on Thursday, May 22nd, he passes the One Big Beautiful Bill by a 215 to 214 vote. Interestingly enough, they actually had 217 votes. Andrew Garbarino from New York, a Republican who was going to vote for it, fell asleep during the vote because it was going all night. And Dave Schweikert from Arizona tried to vote at the last second. He was going to vote for it, and his vote didn't get counted. Okay, so 215, 214, it passes. It goes to the Senate. Now, you will rightly note a couple of things. Number one, this is not the final bill. They haven't done any making law today, because this vote will now go, this bill, One Big Beautiful Bill, will now go to the U.S. Senate, which is Republican controlled, but which will change some things about this bill, and then it will go back to the House, and then there will be the big sort of final test of, can Mike Johnson do this one more time and get this thing passed? So that's point one. Point two, yes, he obviously had help. Donald Trump was on Capitol Hill earlier this week to kind of cajole members. Donald Trump met with House Freedom Caucus members yesterday. This is the most Trumpy and the people most resistant to voting for a bill that increases spending and is going to increase the deficit. So Trump clearly helped. At the same time, it still passed. Last thing is, and I mentioned this a little, this bill is going to add to the debt and the deficit, right? Like, even if this bill passes, this is not a fiscally responsible bill. But, right, Mike Johnson's job, ultimately, is to get the votes to pass a president of his own party's agenda. He is not the president. He's the Speaker of the House. And he did it. And look, I think the guy deserves credit. Because he is someone who came into the job as Speaker with very low expectations. I wrote a million times that I didn't think he'd be the Speaker necessarily, even in 2025, that I wasn't sure the votes were there. The reason he got the job in the first place was because basically he was so low profile and so unimportant that no one really hated him, right? He wasn't Jim Jordan. He wasn't Steve Scalise. He wasn't even Tom Emmer, right? He wasn't any of these people who had developed both a constituency and an anti-constituency. He was just a guy. And this is not what I expected out of him. He deserves a massive amount of credit for getting these things over the line. And again, you may disagree with the policy direction of this bill. Again, I think it's bad economic policy. It is not all paid for. It is making cuts to Medicaid. It is going to add to our debt and deficit problem in a major way. All of those things are true. But Mike Johnson's job is to pass the agenda of the sitting Republican president. And each time that he has been pressed to do so, he has figured out a way to get it done. And that is a remarkable thing, given how little regard I think most people had for this guy when he became Speaker after the House Freedom Caucus got rid of Kevin McCarthy. He is definitely already a more successful speaker than McCarthy. I would remind people, Kevin McCarthy couldn't get anything through. He could never get the votes for things. He struggled over and over again. He could never, despite making promise after promise after promise, which eventually led to his demise. But eventually, after making all these promises, he still couldn't get things passed. The story of the last couple of years of House Republicans was, yeah, they had the majority, but they'd bring stuff up and it would just, they couldn't, people didn't get in line behind him. They have a smaller majority than they did today than they did when McCarthy was speaker, and yet Johnson has gotten things done. I think he is more effective potentially than John Boehner, more effective potentially than Paul Ryan, the other past recent Republican House speakers. It's remarkable where he's come in a short period of time. Now, again, the one big beautiful bill will go to the Senate. They will change it. They will pass something. It will come back to the House in a version that House conservatives are going to like even less than they like this current bill that they kind of held their nose and voted for. Can he get that through? That's a big question. But look, the guy set a deadline of the Memorial Day recess. He forced the vote. He got the vote. He won the vote. This is the fourth time he has had a big consequential vote that people did not know if he would win or lose, and he won. And that's what politics is about at some level. And good on him. Okay, as always, I ask you to do one thing for me. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this thing, because I think what I'm doing here is important. I am not going to always tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I think you need to hear. I'm calling balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. I hope you value that. I hope you tell other people about it. I hope you spread the word. Hit that subscribe button because it's free and it's easy. Take care.